speaking with Francois Chambard today, the founder behind Project. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Oh, pleasure to have you. So we love the aesthetic look of your company's products, but we really like your philosophies too. In a few words, why don't you explain to us why you do what you do, why you make the furniture and the furnishings that you do?
I think it starts with the name of the project, the company. Stands for users and makers. When I started I really wanted to create pieces which connect, again, the users and the makers. Pieces where people who actually buy the furniture know who makes it, how it's made, because I feel like if they know where the furniture comes from, they can actually continue the story on the pieces that become really their own pieces. And it's kind of a never-ending story. So it's very much about the connection between the user and the makers, on also creating this, fulfilling a need. I would say fulfilling a functional, practical need, but also I would say a more personal, emotional need for the people to get attached to an artifact where again, they know the story behind. And in practice, the way we do that is we looked at timeless, proven craft and craftsmanship, and we kind of tweak it in a new way. We take little details, connection, which are very, very old, coming mostly from woodworking techniques, and we make it new with like new details, new execution, new materials. That way people recognize something they know, something which is very familiar, something they have seen before, but they know it's different. They know it's new and invent.
That's the first thing I noticed was that there was a familiarity to all your designs, but they were unlike anything that I had ever seen before.
Well, thank you. I think what's important for in design in general, in storytelling, in food, in any kind of, I would say, people business or people activity, is to meet people where they are, meet them in a familiar place and bring them somewhere new, somewhere different. In fact, like when you look at the sort of things we do, like the stools or some of the tables, those pieces are just like almost archetypes, stereotypes of themselves. Classic stool, a classic table, but they have little elements which make it totally intriguing and attaching.
So what is your background like? Because I think it must take a lot of, skill and talent to be able to do what we're talking about here.
Life is never a straight line. This is for me. Okay, I grew up in France, in Europe. I studied in France, also in Germany. I actually studied business, believe it or not. I didn't study design, but I always knew I was a designer. On more than a designer, I always knew I was a maker. I always built and make things. So after I finished my studies, I worked for pretty big design firms in Europe and then here in the US. More, I would say, on the consulting, business, marketing side. Now, I had great experiences with like high profile blue chip brands, including Nike, Motorola, IBM, all these companies. But after a while, I realized that all of that was pretty conceptual, that design was more than just a strategy or guidelines. And then you need to connect to on a more basic, I would say almost elemental level with simple artifacts. And
Mm.
also, it was great to come up with, to develop strong concepts, strong ideas for brands and products, but it was just as important to manufacture, on make them, and build them. So, long story short, I decided to start project to make things, to get my hands dirty for me.
Well, let's talk more about your designs. Where do you get your inspiration for your design elements?
It's interesting because people, it's a typical question where does inspiration comes from. It's really hard to explain. It's really hard to qualify. I mean, a quote, the classic quote, which is 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. Really, what happens is as your body of work grows, you start to develop design vocabulary of the way things are designed, but the way the things are made, on vice versa. I think a lot of the things which interest me for the past 3 or 4 years and more is looking at connections between materials, how things are joined together. How do you use like simple materials? How do you combine unusual materials like old and new, like combining wood and corian, for example, combining aluminum and enamel, these kind of things. How do you combine these different materials to create like very strong structural element, but also design element of the piece? And you could see that in some of the pieces, like chair we just launched the table, sorry, we just launched here called the NGL table, NGL as in angle table, which has a very simple connection between the Korean top, an aluminum in color, with the stretcher, an aluminum stretcher, and wooden legs, have these kind of connections. Where do I get into? I mean, I look at all tools, like like a hammer or like very simple tools. How is the handle attached to the top of the tool? I think this fascinated me. Also, like very traditional furniture. As far as designers, my small book of designers includes names from we say from the late 19th century up to today. Anything going back to Macintosh or Hoffman, very big fan of that. People from the Bauhaus, more recent designers, from the early to mid 20th century. Very fan of Pierre Charot. He was a key inspirer of the new lamp, the LUM lamp. It's very much a Pierre Charot moment.
What's in store for the future?
The future is now because we just launched a lot of new pieces. ICFF, the furniture fair in New York in
Right,
May,
yeah.
and it got really good feedback, great feedback. We're working on on basically pushing this line to modern is exactly one of the key elements for us to achieve that, and we're really excited by that. So
Yay.
we might do a floor lamp version of some of the lights we just
Ooh.
launched because we got a lot of requests. For the ceiling, we thinking of doing bar stool height or for ever popular making stool.
Okay.
We think of different colors as well,
Ooh.
and obviously we are already thinking of next year of the furniture fair next year, and we're working on a couple of new pieces already. The last thing which is happening, we have a couple of nice custom projects.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. It was really great.
Well, thanks to you. It's a pleasure.
Well, for more information about the UM Project, you can visit umproject.com. You've been listening to a Too Modern Designer interview. For more fun podcasts, inspiring design posts, and design advice, check out the blog at toomodern.com.